Welcome to Our Morning Take, the podcast where our goal here is to describe for you the movie that is going on in our head when we read the Bible.
Good morning. Good morning. This is for you, Anthony. That's all I hear for like the next 3 minutes into the podcast. I'm like, will you let me listen to the podcast, please?
It is very catchy. For me, when I hear it, once that beat drops, I can't help but think of Will Ferrell with the cowbell.
Yeah, more cowbell.
I'm like, I really want to bring
more
cowbell one day and just bang that thing.
We need to do that, Nick.
Yeah.
We can always dub, you know, we can.
Yeah.
That's what we have microphones for. It is February the 6th. It's a Tuesday. Welcome. Good morning, Tuesday morning. We're going to have a little two for Tuesday because we're going to go back and revisit what we did last Tuesday or somewhere in there. Tuesday or Wednesday last week, we talked about the circumcision in Exodus chapter 4. It's an interesting story. There's lots of commentary out there. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube. There's a lot of things that are not just plain non-biblical about this whole thing. And so we want to try to keep it as close to the scripture as possible. And I've got a little verse to talk to us about that too. Before we get into it. But I'm going to let Abe kick this off because it's kind of his thing he wanted to revisit. So what do you got, Abe?
Well, first off, I'm just going to read this little passage, and then I'm going to,
Yeah, go
dive
for it.
right in. And it came to pass by the way in the inn that the Lord met him and sought to kill him. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, "Surely a bloody husband art thou to me." Okay, first things first. Why doesn't Moses circumcise his son when he's born?
And they already practiced the 8 days, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's. We figured that Gershom's got to be close to in his 30s because this is 40 years from the time he came to Midian. Mm-hmm. And when he first came to Midian, he was given his wife Zipporah, and it says, and he had 2 sons. Mm-hmm. So let's say he even took 10 years to have 2 sons. This kid is still 30 years old.
Yeah.
So this is no youngster. This is an adult man that's going with them, probably helping him with the supplies and the whole thing, right?
Right. But let's go back even further because we didn't even talk about this last week. Why didn't Amram and Jochebed circumcise Moses?
Who said they didn't?
It's not written anywhere. And why wouldn't, if he was, listen, but let's hear me out before you jump across the table.
I will.
Man, I wish we had cameras right
Yeah,
there.
that's base.
Because that's news to me. That's a news flash.
Yeah.
Because the Hebrews circumcised all their kids.
I'm well aware of that, but there's no mention of it and of Moses being circumcised.
Well, not any of the kids. Aaron either.
Okay, but
or any of the boys.
But hear me out, though.
Okay, go
so
for it.
Anyway.
All right.
He comes to Midian, and he hooks up with Zipporah. So, he's a Hebrew. This is what we do. Why is it not done? Why is it not done?
Because they did not do it. This is what I'm saying. The Ishmaelites, at some point, even though they're sons of Abraham, they quit with the whole circumcision thing.
Okay.
They decided that it was revolting to them. In fact, this is why she says that about
Isaac's people
the bloody bridegroom thing. You serve a bloody God. I don't even understand this. Why you guys have to do this?
Okay, so let's go back to what God tells Abraham if they're following. As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you, throughout their generations.
Yeah.
This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskins. Ouch. And the sign of the covenant between me and you throughout the generations, every male among you shall be circumcised when he is 8 days old, including the slave born in your house. And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what I'm saying. Because he's married to Zipporah, he's not going to do it. And he's listening to what God is saying. Anyone that is not circumcised, or when you go to Egypt, the firstborn will die. That's Gershom, if he ain't prepared.
Okay, but this also leads into a million different things. I'm going
Right.
to tell you this. I don't know that Moses knows all the story about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He didn't grow up in his
Right,
home.
but
he grew up in an
all
Egyptian
right,
home.
I understand that, but
I'll bet you he was circumcised.
But like we say all the time, even though he grew up in Pharaoh's house, he
Yeah.
was raised by his mom and dad.
Till he was weaned.
Right.
Well, he
But
has no
he's-
memory of that.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
Go for it.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't understand why Moses doesn't get him circumcised because it's about to cost him his life.
Abe, you and I both totally agree, but that's 30 years ago. In Abraham's mind, that's 30 years ago. This is 30 years past. But now, before he goes down there to lead the children of Israel out, he would die unless his son gets circumcised.
This is what I'm saying.
So why would you think Moses is not circumcised?
Why wouldn't he circumcise him then? Listen, I'm cut. You got to get cut too.
Because I'll guarantee you, because Jethro said no. He's the priest
So
of
is
the
it
family.
is it because Jethro says no, or is it because Moses doesn't know that he needs to be cut?
Either one. But you're right. Moses is cut, so he must know there's a reason why he is. He's a Hebrew.
Right.
In fact, that's how people know that they are Hebrews. Right? That's how Zipporah knows that he's a Hebrew.
She found it out that night, I guess.
I'm telling you, yeah, there's no way that Moses is not circumcised.
One time I had to collect money from a guy when I worked for Aaron's, and he came, I guess he was all messed up. He came out naked. He definitely wasn't a Hebrew. That guy was as Gentile as you could get.
There you go.
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
So jump in here, Professor. I mean, let's hear it. Let's hear what are your thoughts on that? Does Moses know, or does he not know?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't take it too seriously at the time. Like, this is just tradition or what. I don't know. Until, well, obviously, he
Or like
figured it
we
out.
even touched on this a little bit last week. Maybe he's putting that behind him. And you know what? I'm in Midian. I'm going to do what they're doing.
Yeah, probably. Well, like Pastor Frank was saying, he knows a lot of the traditions and stuff, but we automatically assume he's got the whole history there. He knows it inside and out because he's such a knowledgeable prophet or whatever. But he may not have known as much. He may just kind of like fly by the seat of the pants. Well, God says to do this, so I just got to do this. And
Okay.
So he may not have known as much of the tradition as a lot of us think he did.
Okay, and let's even go back a little further. Are Joseph's kids circumcised?
Absolutely. Absolutely they are.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that Jacob makes them his own sons unless they're circumcised.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Good stuff.
and if they
Good.
weren't
That's good.
circumcised
That's
when
good.
Jacob adopted them, he would have told Joseph, now you need to get these kids
They
circumcised.
got to get fixed.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was circumcision going on in Egypt because the pharaohs and the Egyptians, they also circumcised their children too, but they used a different method.
You know about
I
this?
hate to ask.
Yes, I do know about it.
Do you want to, I mean, you just throw
You
that
can't-
out
you
there
can't
and you
drop it.
stop?
You can't drop it without.
I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping.
You're not stopping or you are stopping?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Get
No.
in
Oh,
the
he's
mic.
just waiting for he's trying to get his material together. I see what he's doing now.
Well, the Egyptian way, they
Yeah.
make a circle incision, but the Israelite way, they take the whole foreskin off. So the incision is obviously more painful. So I don't even know why they would even do that.
Who knows this stuff?
Oh, it's written.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where?
and
I
also,
can't imagine what those hieroglyphics look like.
and that is why, if you read in Joshua, when God speaks to Joshua to have them recircumcised, he talks about the circumcisions that were going on in Egypt and they weren't right.
Who says this?
God in Joshua chapter 5.
Joshua chapter. All right, so that's a good one. So when we
We can go there right
do you have the scripture?
I sure
I've
do.
got one in Jeremiah too. I thought I wanted to read too.
Okay.
Joshua chapter 5. What?
Yeah, at the time, God said to Joshua, make some stone knives and circumcise the people a second time. So Joshua made stone knives and circumcised the people in Israel at Foreskins Hill. This is in the Message version.
That's where I met my wife.
This is why Joshua conducted the circumcision. All the males who had left Egypt and the soldiers had died in the wilderness on the journey out of Egypt. All of whom had come out of Egypt, of course, had been circumcised, but all of those born in the wilderness along the way since leaving had not been. The fact is that the people of Israel had walked through the wilderness for 40 years until the entire nation died out. All the men of the military who had come out had disobeyed the call of God. God vowed that they would never lay eyes on the land God had solemnly promised them. These are the ones that Joshua circumcised. And then you skip down to it, it says, God said to Joshua, today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt. That's why this place is called Gilgal. It's still called that today.
Okay, so verse 5 of Joshua 5 says that they came out of Egypt. Everyone that came out of Egypt was circumcised. Everyone.
Right.
So they did circumcise while they were in Egypt.
Yes, but they were also...
Not in the desert.
Right, but they were also following the Egyptian way of cutting, slicing, and dicing.
We'll
Which
pick
is
this up
interesting.
tomorrow.
Sure will.
Come back tomorrow for more intriguing conversation about circumcision.